So today you continuation of the book Jesus in the Home. I have 3 lessons today. We started number 30. And let's go.
Okay. The rule of helping. At the height of youthful curiosity, John realized that he was facing a new way of life. Such was the greatest with which the gospel shone through in the Lord's teachings. So he asked Jesus what the most dignified way would be for disciples to act towards their neighbor in the sense of helping others. The divine friend responded with a clear and firm voice, John, if you are seeking a rule of thumb by which to help others while at the same time helping yourself, remember to love your companions of the earthly journey as much as you would like to be loved and helped by them. Under the pretext of fostering the truth, don't make your life a battle in which your feet walk the earth like a fierce warrior in the desert. Remember that most ill persons already realize to some degree what their illness is, and so they need friendship and understanding more than they need medicine. Bear in mind that there's not one soul on earth who doesn't have difficult problems to resolve. Because of this, learn to show fraternal courtesy toward all of them. Welcome your travel companions, not merely with the greeting suggested by rules of etiquette, but also with the warmth of your sincere desire to serve. Gaze into the eyes of people as they talk to you, observing their kind interest, and always be a tactful and attentive listener. Don't raise your voice too loudly, because the certainty and serenity with which the most serious of matters should be dealt does not depend upon how loudly they are discussed. Refrain from taking part in the futile conversations. Undignified comments are always a criminal invasion into personal matters. Praise those who are industrious, and even when faced with those who are evil and lazy, try to exalt the good they are capable of doing. Flee pessimism, but wisely keep up your guard when dealing with individuals who are enterprising in carrying out respectful yet fleeting businesses in the world. Unproductive melancholy, which knows only how to complain, has never been useful to humankind, who's in need of good spirits. Make daily use of the shining kind of a friendly smile. It is with a spontaneous gesture of kindness that we can ward off many crimes and erase many wrongs. Do your best to always be punctual. Don't make your friends wait for you so that you are not attributed to a false sense of importance. Give thanks for all the blessings along the way, acknowledging both the large ones and the small ones. If the sun provides warmth for life, the grain of wheat provides our daily bread. Allow the living, invisible waters of love that proceed from God, our Father, flow through your heart to benefit the realm of struggle in which you live. Love is the divine force that enriches life and bestows power. Above all, let us do the best we can to aid in the happiness and spiritual growth of everyone around us, not just here, but everywhere, not just today, but always. Christ became silent, and acknowledging the beauty of this plan, the young apostle asked him respectfully, Lord, how am I to fulfill such meaningful teachings? The master responded resolutely, goodwill is our resource each and every hour. And patting the troubled apostle on the head, he brought the evening's prayer session to a close.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. I think I said that before that when I'm doing study groups, I rather personally have short readings because I think our attention span is very limited. And if you read a little bit and discuss that a little bit, I think it's usually more profitable. For this book, I think the messages are so compacted together that I'm reading the whole thing. But if you guys put in comments what you prefer, to divide or to read the whole passage at once. And I'm fine to do either way, whatever the majority would prefer. So if anybody has a preference, just let me know, and we go with the majority.
Elmo, I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, I can.
I'm okay since the passages are short to read the whole and then we discuss after. That's my opinion.
Yeah, thanks for your opinion. That's what I want from anyone, is to have an opinion. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with Luisa. I think it's this book is better to read like the other books we do on Monday. It's better to read the whole passage and then
Yeah.
to discuss.
Okay, I'm fine. Thank you. So the rule of for helping. Do you really need the rule for helping? Isn't just helping just helping? It's obvious that it's not, right? Because you have here this young disciple just taking his first steps as a man itself. John was so young at that time, having the humbleness and the smartness to ask, is that a rule to help with this? Which is a very eloquent question itself. Well, who would think that? Is there a rule for helping? And we often hear that people say things like, that's my way of doing. He or she is luck that I am helping. But perhaps there is a way that I help can be helpful. There is a way that I help may not be helpful. And perhaps, just questioning it, there's a way that what we think is a help may go the wrong way, go the opposite way. And then another question to ask is, what would be the help that help others and help us at the same time? Not help others while at the same time helping yourself. How do you profit using that law of action and reaction to our favor? What we put out comes back to us. No law of action and reaction, right? You throw a ball with all your force against a wall, it will come back to you with all the force that you put on it. So how to make the help be help to others beyond help to ourselves? And that's what Jesus is suggesting to us here in this passage, right? And following this law of action and reaction, this help that comes back to us would be a help that is out of love and compassion. It's something that we do with the intelligence of the heart, putting the other person first. Not the kind of help that is like semblance pass, because it's too loud. Sorry about that. Not the kind of help that is performed as a social convention. No, not the kind of help that we do because everybody says that it's good to do. So I'm just doing because Jesus says that you have to help. So I go ahead and I help out of mostly of convention, or worse yet, as a tool of bargaining with God. God, I'm gonna help this individual who is in need, but look at my needs over here, right? Which it ceases to be a charitable act and becomes a business act, right? You are doing something in exchange for something else. So to me, the take point of this whole message is exactly in that whatever you do to others, you put the need of the other first. And not yours. And do not expect a reward, because then it ceases to be an act of charity and becomes a business transaction. And I don't think God is willing to do business transaction with us. You know, what we have to offer is what he gave to us. You know, there is nothing that we can offer to God that God already that needs from us. And a very important concept here through this reading is that very often we are seeking to resolve people's problems. Very often we are ready to bring the medicine to treat the illness. When most of the time, we already, those who are in need already know the solution, already know what's the medicine. What the help that we need very often is the support, is the motivation to move in direction of that solution that you already know what it is. Just as an example, the alcoholic, the drug addict, knows exactly what the problem is and knows exactly what the solution is. To go through a drug addict and says you're suffering because you are a drug addict, the solution to your problems is stop using drugs. It's telling the obvious, it's telling what he or she knows very well. What those individuals need is the motivation, the support, the belief in oneself that I am able to do because this person is giving me the proper support. This person believes in me more than I believe in myself. This kind of things is the help that a drug addict needs. And you can bring that to any other different examples that we may choose. Someone who is being suffering out of pride. Pretty much know what the solution is. What you can bring in terms of teaching is to open this individual's ability to find a way out of that prideful decision. To be able to accept to lose a little bit now to gain a lot later. And that goes beyond the intelligence of the intellectual intelligence of the brain, because if everything was just based on intellectual reasoning, would be a lot easier. Would be an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. The justice deprived of love. But when you add love to it, then we find solutions that are really helpful. We change things from being punitive to being an education opportunity. And to put our true heart when we are doing something for someone, as simple as when we say something like, have a good day, good luck, God bless you. Seek to bathe, to cover those words with true, sincere energies, that when you say, have a good day, you mean it, and you truly wish that individual will have a good day. Something as simple as that. You get out of the house in a hurry, the spouse, the kids are behind, and say, have a good day, guys, and then you go away. Take a short second and say, truly wish that my spouse, my kids, my stranger that you meet in the subway will be surrounded by the good spirits to provide this individual to have a good day. The kind of help that is Perhaps you're never going to see the effects of it, but we know that we take an effect because, again, law of action and reaction. Because all the good that we do produces something good, even if not perceivable by our senses. To be attentive and to be gentle to individuals, it impresses the soul and creates trust. When you have a conversation with anyone, listen, look in the eyes of the individual, let they perceive, they sense, feel that you are putting yourself into that conversation. That is, the words that are coming to your ears are not just plain words, are something meaningful that are put attention to it. And be gentle in the responses as much as possible. If it comes a situation, a rare situation that will happen, and you have to be firm and let your yes be your yes and your no be your no, let it be so. Because there are circumstances in life that demands that, and we need to be prepared and comfortable in doing so. But the harsh words, the idea of telling the truth regardless of the consequence of it, because I tell the truth and whoever likes, whoever don't like, doesn't like, may not be helpful. Maybe it may have the opposite effect. Sometimes we are not ready for the truth. Sometimes, as we said before, we already know that what the truth is, and you don't need to tell me. What I need is support to deal with this truth right now. And gentleness, being careful with words, because words matter and matter a lot, goes a long way if you wish to help. Perhaps you can say the same thing with a different tone of voice. We will have two different effects on the receiver. Be mindful of that when we speak, not only our words are meaningful, but the energies that we carry in those words with our tone of voice, seek not to be aggressive. It will make a difference. Value words. When you're speaking, put value to your words. And if you waste it, if you throw a word or if you talk too much, you devalue your words. It's like a dollar bill. There is plenty of dollar bill. Yeah, it's valuable. Yes, but it's common. It's nobody goes a long distance to get a dollar bill. If it's $100 bill, you might take a few extra steps because you value it more. So when our words are few, but are only used when necessary, are only used to stress the truth, and are useful, then your words are valuable, and people will value you, people will listen. Now, if you paraphrase Diogenes, God gave us 2 ears and only one tongue, so you can listen more and talk less. And very often, the best help that you can offer is exactly that, just listen. Already know what the problem is, I already know the solution is, I just need support, and then sometimes the best support that you can do is just listen. don't be shy to applaud, to give you praise for the good work that other people have done. It's not going to augment pride or anything else. We just allow the person recognize that their good work is being recognized to motivate them to continue in that path of good work. And when you see bad work, let's seek to stimulate others to redirect their energies by using their own good talents. Seek to stimulate others to make the best use of their own talents that we all have. Then again, just Monday we spoke about that. God is fair; He distributes equally. We will collect the distribution from God in accordance to our abilities. Some of us will develop great ability to collect some things and other less. But we all have good talents. So stimulate those good talents. So praise those who are industrious, and even when faced with those who are evil and lazy, try to exalt the good they are capable of doing. Look for the best in individuals. Instead of stress the wrong, stress the good, and let the good overtake the wrong, so individuals make correction for themselves. Avoid pessimism. Avoid looking at the glass half empty. Emphasize the glass half full. The idea of we don't fight injustices because we hate injustices, but we fight injustice because we love justice is a completely different approach to the same problem that redirects our energies in a different way. Make daily use of the shiny key of a friendly smile. Only God knows the effect of a simple smile, perhaps to a stranger, and again in the subway, in the street, or someone who asks for $1 and say, "Oh, no, I don't have $1 right now," but give it a smile and say, "Have a nice day," and mean it. You have no idea what that can do to an individual. Recognize the presence of that individual. Give a smile, say that you are in bad shape right now, but things may get better, things will get better. Because again, I mean, a simple tiny speckle of light dissipates darkness. And if you go back to the old Chinese proverb, that we can count, we can know how many seeds are there in a orange. Just have to count. But we don't know how many oranges are there in one seed. We don't know how productive it may be just a simple smile, just a simple act of gentleness to an individual. Because again, as we discussed before, give $1 to an individual on the street or $5 and keep going on it and look at that person, good. But it's gonna go away, and tomorrow it's gonna be the same situation, like no change whatsoever. You smile, have a nice day, be surrounded by good spirits in your mind, may radically change the situation of that individual. It may radically redirect the energy that individuals towards getting out of that bad situation. We don't know what's going to happen, but if you do our part, it can only be helpful. Be grateful. Be grateful to everything. Show that you recognize the effort of others, being small or being large, which again is small is large and large is very relative, right? I mean, what's little for one may be a tremendous effort for others and vice versa. I think the widow's the widow parable of Jesus tell the truth. There was 2 little coins was much greater than all the loud noise with the big coins that the Pharisees are placing for the synagogue. Allow the visible, invisible waters of love that proceeds from God, our Father, flow through your heart. I think this is beautiful. We go back to Matthew when he says, in the same way, let your light shine before others, so that may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. God is present, omnipotent, omnipresent through his energy, and his energy, in my concept, in my understanding, is love. So to let shine your light before others is to let the spirit prevail over the matter. Because if you go back to the spirit's book, the spirits were not able, because of us, not because of them, to give us a definition of what spirit, but he said, for you is a sparkle of light. So the best definition, the best concept that the spirits and the spirits book gave to us is sparkle of light, it's light. So let the spirit, the light, shine through the material to the matter. And through that, we will allow ourselves and others to glorify our Father. We are discussing worship in the Spirit's book right now. And the greatest way to worship God is to allow His love to shine through us. Because again, God uses us as an instrument to spread joy, safety, hope, faith to everyone else. And after all these suggestions from Jesus, John still asks, how can you put all those things together in my association with our fellow humans around me? How can I put this package of good informations together and put these all things to work and to work to help others and in this process happen ourselves? And the answer is with goodwill. Goodwill is our resource each and every hour. In the spiritual book also we understand that everything starts with the will, with the desire, with the want. And that's why the Spirit says that to modify behavior, to modify habits, It's very easy, and they are baffled of why is it so hard for us. And the reason they say is because we don't really have the will. We don't really have the true want to change. We find all the possible excuses, all the possible arguments to make it difficult for us to change our habits because we really, really, really don't want it. But when you do what we do, and we do change, and it's not all the hard according to the spirits, and always starts with the goodwill. And that is one thing that cannot be denied from us, cannot be taken away from us. That does not require tremendous intellectual abilities. That does not require to have studied and understand everything about spirituality. No. To have the goodwill, the desire to be helpful to others, will lead us to follow all these suggestions naturally. Because if I do put the other, have the goodwill to put my neighbor first, because I want to help him and I want to help myself. I want to see the success of this individual, and I want to reach my own success through the success of that individual. It's about helping that individual. Then all those things will fall into place naturally. We will learn with the intelligence of the heart, courage, right? Act with the heart. That we don't need to be a doctor in theology or anything like that. Goodwill will lead us to understand all these concepts naturally. Now, it's wonderful that we can sit here and go to these passages. I truly believe more as a reminder than really teach. I don't think there is anything here that is new to any one of us. I really doubt there is anything in this passage that we could not say, oh, I know that already. Oh, it's obvious. Because it is obvious, because we do know it already. The necessity that I believe we need is the repetition to remind us to apply what is obvious, to apply what we know already. And what is missing very often for us is exact that goodwill. Because with goodwill, all those things that we already know, that's pretty obvious, will come naturally. Comments? Okay, so number 31.
Okay. Number 31, the reason for pain. Rachel, a longtime servant of Kusa, spoke up in order to ask the master why pain had become such an affliction on the pathways of the world. Weren't men and women God's creation? Weren't they entitled to the blessed help of the angels? Didn't heaven watch over the destinies of humankind? Jesus looked firmly into her eyes and said, the reason behind human pain is divine protection. Peoples are families of God, and like a large flocks of sheep, they are enclosed in the sheepfold of the Most High. The earth is the path. The struggle that teaches and edifies is the way forward. Suffering is the goat that awakens the sheep that are distracted alongside the path of truth. There were a few moments of silence, and the master began again. Excessive power favors abuse. Too much comfort frequently brings laxity. And bread that piles up in excess usually becomes food for vermin that take pleasure in the mold. Perceiving that the group of friends was asking him for a full explanation, He elaborated fraternally. By order from the Eternal Father, an angel took charge of an ordinary man at birth. He taught him how to feed himself, to move his arms, legs, and muscles, to smile, to rest, and to take refuge in his mother's arms. Without leaving its ward's side, day and night it gave him the first lessons of speech, and then guided him to do more things, providing him with the opportunity to learn and think, to read, write, and do arithmetic. Hour by hour, it kept him from the pernicious or deadly influences of the miserable spirits that would undoubtedly carry him off to the abyss of death. It breathed illuminated thoughts into his mind from the light of the infinite good through 1,000 ways of imperceptible aid, ensuring him health and physical balance. It gave him invisible medicine, though air and water, clothing and plants. On numerous occasions, it saved him from error, crime, and the unending ills that torment sinners. At dawn, the heavenly page attentively prepared a calm and profitable day for him, watching over his breathing, nourishment, and thought, and guarding his steps with love in order to best conserve his gifts. At dusk, it stood watch at the head of his bed, safeguarding his body against the attack of infernal spirits, watching over him with a mother's care, with sweet spiritual instructions while he was asleep. Throughout his life, it guided his ideas, helped him to choose his emotions, and to find a worthy and respectful job. It enlightened his young mind, breathed in holy enthusiasm into him for the pathway of the superior life, and encouraged him to establish a rim of blessing and service, progress and spiritual growth in a home. However, the man who had never thought to give thanks for the blessings surrounding him became proud and cruel toward others. He who had been given such great blessings from heaven never felt the urge to extend them on earth, and began to humiliate others with the glory with which he had been clothed by his devout and invisible benefactors. When he experienced his first disappointment, which he himself caused by belittling the law of universal love that establishes fraternal and respect for others, he made a gesture of rebelliousness against heaven, accusing the Supreme Lord of being unjust and indifferent. Deeply hurt, the guardian angel was trying to impress him with the idea of kindness when a higher angel came down and ordered the first annoyance of the ward, hardened by the excessive privileges, to be turned into affliction. Rolling mentally from one affliction to the next, the man began to reap the qualities of patience, humility, love, and peace with all, thus making him the Father's invaluable co-worker in creation. When he had finished, Jesus expected Rachel to raise some type of question, but the servant was mute, dominated by the thoughts that the evening's teachings had suggested. The gospel worship came to a close with a meaningful prayer of inexpressible joy.
Okay, thanks, Orlando.
You're welcome.
The reason for pain.
Mm.
I think if you can ask John and I how many times we ask this question, and more important, how many times we ask this question ourselves, I don't think we'll be able to answer because the number will be too big, too large. But Rachel asked here what perhaps is the most common question when it comes to religiosity, when it comes to a pseudo belief in God. And a pseudo belief in God is because we want to believe without reasoning, without put things together. We believe when things goes well and everything is an ocean of flowers. And when trouble comes in, we start to doubt. And this question comes very often, right? Why pain? If God is all good and love, why God let us suffer? Did God abandon me? Did God abandon us? Did God abandon humankind? I'm sure there's a lot of people asking this question right now with the geopolitical state of the world at this moment. We chose was to have unreasonable faith, by now faith deprived of reasoning, of course, or you have a pseudo faith. But as John has said, we are kind of lazy and we need to be motivated to act. And just put something here, the reason behind human pain is divine protection. Man, that is, who needs a loving God if let us suffer to protect us? So we need to break this down, try to understand. The law is of progress. Like it or not, agree or disagree, believe it or don't believe, there is a force that propels us forward in the liberation from our vices, in the liberation of our pride and self primarily, that generates all of the devices, And this force that propels us forward will do what needs to be done. You provide us the necessary tools for us to progress. And as the old phrase goes, God educates through love and re-educates through pain. The choices as well. I always like to make open a parenthesis and ask what's suffering, what is pain, because that's also quite relative. Opportunity of learning something new, we may call it suffering. The example I always use is after learning how to add, subtract, multiply, divide, now you have to deal with, I don't know, with the trigonometry. And I say, oh my God, I have to solve for this thing. Why do I need this for? It's unfair. Or the others will say, wow, since I learned all that stuff already, now I have the opportunity to know this new concept in mathematics with this trigonometry, how great it is. It's a choice that you make. Someone sees the opportunity of learning trigonometry as a pain that you have to go through, or I have to go through this pain to pass my grade. Or the one you see that I have this great opportunity of figuring out this new thing over here that will allow me to figure things much, much greater ahead. Same thing. One takes us suffering, one takes as a wonderful opportunity. And both will have to go through to trigonometry to move on. Law of progress. Some of you suffer through it, some of you enjoy it. And that applies to just about everything. Again, I have an example, my own experience when the same day I had to admitted from the clinic, two individuals, the same problem that would need to go to an amputation below the knee the very next day because of severe wet gangrene of the leg. One was cursing and extremely rebellious and angry. That was the fault of the doctor, didn't look it right, that we didn't know what to do, that it's not fair. And the other one was very grateful, giving thanks that we were able to cut that problem early and prevent death. The same problem, the solution for the problem was the same. One took as tremendous suffering, the other one was with tremendous amount of gratitude. That's something that I experienced many years ago in my life that I never forgot. That to me was an important lesson. So right in the beginning, I like to make the differentiation of what's suffering and the relativity of this word suffering. Both went through pain. There's no way that a guillotine amputation that I have to leave bone exposed for some time, change dressing every day until you're completely satisfied that there is no more infection, then you can go and close that stump and eventually provide a prosthesis that will allow the individual to function normal or extremely close to normal. But for some, it's a curse. For others, a blessing. So from that point, starting with the differentiation of what's suffering, what's not suffering, we need very often stimuli to make us move. And this good is something that provoke us, that stimulate us to act, to do something to resolve our problems. And if we still stay in a life without any problems, probably not going to be able to resolve problems ever. And if you think that we are predestined to one day reach the level of the Christs and be responsible to manage a planet and its population, we are going to deal with problem solvings. One can only be very sorry for Jesus Christ to have to manage and take care of us here. I'm sure he deals with a lot of problem solving. Of course, had a solution to all the problems, but was not a free gift given to him. You need to develop the ability, the skills, the intelligence of the heart and the mind to get there. And did some say that Jesus was pretty much in a straight line towards progress, that was the A+ student, so to say, right? Studied, did his jobs, and keep move on in the path of progress. I don't know how they know that, but I heard that. But even if not, even if delayed a little bit, in one or another aspect, he'd have to work and have to go through the challenges that he may consider pain or opportunities. I don't know. Some people say, hey, that he only look with a glass half full. Right? And again, I don't know how they know that, so I don't want to question it. But I'm sure that Jesus have to face challenges to get where he is today. We very often seek the path of the least effort. As Jean always says, we are generally lazy. That's the reason why communism is utopic, because everything is given to us, like the case that Jesus presented over here, this individual that was taken care by this angel who pretty much catered to him everything that was good and prevented him to be exposed to anything that was bad. Did not learn to appreciate the good. And when he was exposed to the bad that he generated to himself, he didn't know how to deal with it. Perhaps in a country where the government give guaranteed everything that you need, you don't have to work to get anything. There's a good chance that you'll not work. And then you're gonna come a point in which that government, that country, you have no more resource to provide because nobody worked to produce the resource to provide. So you come in that cycle that I don't need to work because the government gives everything. But now, if I don't work, the government will not have resource to provide me everything, and creates that poverty that we encountered in most communist countries. So we need to be stimulated. You need to be faced with the prospect of poverty to say, oh no, I have to work. Oh no, I have to take care of my infrastructure, or they're gonna fall apart. And then even if the government was giving free housing, there will be no free housing because the houses are falling apart because nobody is working to rebuild them. So work is good. And very often, if everything is given to us, we will not work. And if do not work, we do not progress. But divine providence prevents us for that to happen and provide to us the necessity to work. And very often the necessity to work is to give us the opportunity to suffer, to recognize the good of work, the good of doing things. We still seek the best of the least effort. And we must go through experiences in life that leads us to learn the value and to acquire the virtues, to know the values of virtues and to seek to acquire those virtues. And then life will give us the opportunities to put those virtues to a test in order to make those virtues a part of us. As Ron always says that, no, one day we'll practice charity because it's a part of us. It's becomes all natural. It's like walking forward. No, none of us think how do we walk forward. You get up and walk forward. But if I ask you to walk backwards, or if you walk 3 steps to the left, 3 forward, 3 to the right, or you're gonna have to stop and think. It's not natural for you. You're gonna have to put a different effort. For us, most of our virtues is walking anything different from walking forward. It requires that stop and think. I need to apply this virtue of patience, of charity, of silencing oneself, of listening, all those good stuffs, because it's not really a part of us yet. And in order to make this a part of us, we need to be stimulated. We need to be tested. And again, some will call it suffering, some will see this as opportunities. But the challenge is the same for everyone. To want to understand the value of virtues, to work to acquire the virtues, and that's not done yet. Now we go to be tested having the opportunities for them to apply those virtues. And it is by the application of those virtues, repetition, that has become a part of us. And those applications, those opportunities for those applications, not always very pleasant. Again, if you know the example, if you want to be good, let's say, for drug addicts, and you go to a place where they congregate and do all that stuff and want to be helpful to them there, it's not going to be a pleasant experience. Likely not going to be well received. Likely it's not going to be a nice Fifth Avenue duplex apartment with all the facilities that available to you. Probably going to have to deal with challenges being there. But if you want to apply the virtue of charity, of helping those in need, you need to go through that. And by repeating, doing that, it becomes your normal, that eventually you can do things that Mother Teresa have done that's very normal for her, and to us, a tremendous source of struggle. But through repetition, to doing multiple times, it becomes your normal. It becomes a part of yourself. And if our destination is to reach that level, divine providence will provide to us all the opportunities to repeat that until it becomes a part of us. Let me see here. What else do I got here? And just remember that God created us simple and ignorant. All of us. All of us. The Christs hanging out in the words of the Christs, they were created simple and ignorant. And they went through the necessity to understand the value of the virtues, to conquer those virtues, and then to apply those virtues repeatedly until it became a part of them. And at that time, we reach that purity that defined the Christs. So the necessity of suffering, true, is relative, is what I call suffering. And true is the choice, and true is the choices that we make. No, you choose to learn through love, accept challenges as opportunities, or you rebel and you need to learn through pain. But we'll learn one way or another. And that's what makes the necessity of pain in our lives. Because very often we accommodate, like the man in the parable, that everything is provided, everything is good. All we need to do is to recognize, to be grateful. And when the opportunities appeared for them to demonstrate, pull up their virtues, he didn't have them because he never needed to work to recognize their value and to conquer them. And now he will have to learn through pain. And through pain, he developed himself. He learned, because again, divine providence will always give us as many opportunities as needed for us to overcome our troubles. Any comments?
Well, hi. I have a couple of comments. I've heard a couple of speakers that sometimes they compare the difference between the suffering and the pain, as like Alcione in the book Renunciation. She had a lot of suffering, right, in her life. But she didn't have pain, I would say. And also, like a mother, when she's in labor, she has a lot of pain if she's not, you know, taking on any anesthesia, but she's not suffering. I don't know if that makes sense. And also, I see, as you and John always says, that one day charity will be our nature. I think I connect that with the previous chapter, that all those, I would say, rules for well living and for good society living, one day there will be our nature to do all those items that that were suggested on the previous chapter. I don't know if kind of that makes sense.
Oh, it makes absolute sense, and I think I agree to everything you said. Again, I think the example that I used to me was a great value. Both individuals have the same problem.
Yeah, sure.
Both need the same solution, but one takes us tremendous suffering. It's God's fault, it's the doctor's fault, it's the nurse's fault that don't take good care of me. And the one says that as a salvation, so to say, that prevent, even a worse problem that could lead to death. Both have to go to the same surgery. Both have a guillotine amputation, have basically just cut the leg where it is and leave it open. Have to change the dress, and changing those dresses are extremely painful every single day. And every single day, that woman, when I walk in the room, would not be there without a smile. She would literally ask, "Why are you not smiling?" And every time that I walk in the other room, the guy says, "Right now you're here. I didn't get my pain medication yet. Don't you see that I'm watching this, whatever they was showing on TV? Something horrible, usually." Completely different, going to the same process. That woman suffered the physical pain like everyone else, because the physical pain, again, is a body mechanism, right? Equally. But she did not suffer, and she was grateful. And now here I'm thinking out loud that woman, in next reincarnation, her future lives, would not need to go to those challenges anymore, because she learned a lesson, and you don't need to stay in the same classroom if you already learned the lesson. For the guy, who am I to say what's going to happen, but I would predict they would have to face some equal, perhaps even worse challenges to start to redirect their way of thinking. It's the same. But eventually, everyone will learn, and the choice is ours. Any more comments, any more questions? Okay, so the last one for the day. Victorious faith.
Victorious faith. Andrew was pointing out certain difficulties involved in spreading the new redemptive principles of which the Master was a messenger, making reference to the Pharisees with a passionate bitterness. He urged his fellow disciples to form an organized resistance movement. Jesus, however, had been listening with imperturbable tolerance to the angry discussion, and as soon as he got everyone quiet down, he asserted, "No school of religion will triumph with the Father if it is devoid of love, which is our responsibility to cultivate toward one another." And perhaps because a justified expectation was expressed regarding the moral teaching that his divine words of wisdom could weave, he began very calmly. In the times of early faith, 3 primitive men settled with their families in a large forest, and after having lived in fraternal harmony for a time, they began to argue about the nature of the Creator. One of them insisted that the Almighty lived in the thunder. Another believed that the Father resided in the wind, and in the third, that he lived in the sun. All three of them felt they were his sons, but they wanted at all costs to stick to their own individual opinions. After harsh verbal altercations, they turned to fighting openly. One of the three was armed with a large supply of ore, another with a great pile of stones, and the third had hidden behind a pile of wood. Thus, pieces of firewood and crude stones were the weapons they would use in the great conflict. All of them evoked the protection of the Supreme Lord for their families, and then they threw themselves into the fray. The conflict escalated to the point that they went throughout the forest, harming both trees and animals until the all-compassionate one sent them a friendly angel. The messenger visited their forts in the guise of the ordinary men, and instead of taking away the tools with which they were destroying living things, he told them that all three of their traditions were invaluable in their own way. He told them that they only needed to take a new approach. He explained that all three were right in the belief that nourished their souls, because God lives in the sun that sustains his creatures, in the wind that helps nature, and in the thunder that renews the atmosphere. And with a lot of patience, he explained that the Creator can only be honored by means of dignified and profitable work, by teaching the first one to transform the heart's pieces of ore into tools with which to tilt the earth during the planting season. The second one, by converting his wood into valuable pieces for well-being. The third, by using his stones to build comfortable shelters. To everything was to be added the good doctrine of working for everyone's progress and evolution. The three contenders thus understood the greatness of victorious faith through constructive acts, and the discord ended for good. The master made a short pause and added, in matters of religion, all believers have respectable reasons for holding to it, and they have the invaluable abilities that should be made use of to enhance life and time, thereby glorifying the Father. But when people hold on to heaven's blessings and do nothing for others or for themselves, they're like a miser who dives headlong into the hell of thirst and hunger in order to wrongly hide the wealth that God has loaned him. For this very reason, faith that does not help, teach, or console is no more than dark vanity of the heart. A heavy silence fell over everyone, and Andrew lowered his timid eyes in order to better grasp the enlightening message.
Thank you, Saraido.
Yeah.
Victorious faith. The whole passage used the words religion, rightly so, I'm not challenging that. But I like us to think of religion as the set of belief in a divinity and faith in that divinity. Not necessarily an organized institution as we usually think of religion. Because to that I can put spiritism in this context. Because outside of that, spiritism, personally, is not a religion as an institution, dogmatic. Religions as a dogmatic institution, I was listening to this great mythologist, Joseph Pope, saying that the Western religions creates division. Individuals in this or that religion, whatever name you want, Muslim, Jewish, Christianity, the divisions of Christianity, or the division of Judaism and Islamism. They create divisions, and the individuals have tremendous faith in that group, and they assist, protect in that group, and it's limited to that group. It does not expand outside of that group. Most of the Eastern religions, they do not create division, because the God, so to say, is pretty much the individual itself. There is not one God that we give to it. It's a personality. You give to it a human personality, and now this is the only God, and we believe that the God is the only God for everyone, right? But it's for everyone who believes in the same God. The other who believe in a different God, a different personality, and a different way of seeing that God. Now it's outside of that group, and therefore does not desire, does not merit our attention, our care, our charity. It's all inside of that group that united the same belief in that God that basically we created, they created. Therefore, the idea of a universal God kind of loses it in the Western religions, because we create those divisions. So God is not universal. God is the one that I created, and this group with me know what it is, and the other groups that do not know what it is. And I think that's what the problem of these three individuals happened here. The division, the separation of I know what it is and you guys are wrong. That's what made Spinoza be called an atheist, which he was not, because he believed in the universal creator. Actually, he didn't believe in the creator, but the divinity or something universal that did not fit in any religion. And because he did not accept the dogmas, he was kicked out of Judaism. He was born into, he was expelled, and the Christians decided he was an atheist, which he was not. But just because they understand of a God that transcends everything, all the dogmas, he was considered to be a atheist, which is wrong. And that's what made what's his name? The great physics says that he believes in Spinoza's God, which is the God that created man, not the God created by man. Einstein said that. Because individuals were able to get outside of the division and believe in this universal kind of divinity. But often you say God is love. In spirituals, understand that God is a lot more than that. God is creator of everything, therefore creator of love. But I personally believe that the love is the energy of creation. It's the tool that God uses to create everything, and it's the And love is the essence of of God in all of his creations, is of course including us. And therefore the to triumph, with the Father, need to be with love. We cannot be devoid of love. And this is our responsibility to cultivate with one another. So no religion will triumph with the fathers if it's devoid of love. Again, which is our responsibility towards one another. How to reach that ability is exactly to eliminate the divisions, eliminate the dogmas that create a God that has such and such personality, and if you do not accept that personality, then you don't belong to my group. Now, divisions creates conflict. Is almost unavoidable. That once I divide and I'm right, and the others are wrong, and the others unite against themselves and say that they are not wrong, they are the ones who are right, it will create conflict. And by doing that, we distance ourselves farther and farther from God, because we distance ourselves farther and farther from love. It is interesting that in the parable that Jesus created, he used primitive man. is Jesus calling us still primitive? Because we still have all those divisions, we still create God that has such and such personality, and a very, very normal, right? And you have this innate faith that is in the gospel according to Spiritism that tells that the simple individual have that innate faith in a divinity, in a creator, on a provider. We understand it's innate to us that there is something much greater than us that creates all those things, that provides all those things. The more simple we are, we will associate that divinity with things more dense, more palpable to us. So the thunder, the rain, the sun, whatever it is, usually would be polytheistic, because it's easy to imagine that there is someone in charge of certain things, other people in charge of other things, and so we divide that God in multiple gods. But very often also there is a God that leads all the other gods. So in reality, we have that innate belief in God. So even the primitives, man, they have that belief in God. But each one understands God to be in a different way. And to resolve that problem, put over here that God sent an angel to teach us. And used an ordinary man. I think very interesting. The messenger visited the forts in the guise of an ordinary man. Why an ordinary man? Why not a divinity? Why not a divinity to be obeyed and to be followed regardless? What if God had sent a powerful individual who would come in and demand and would be obeyed? Pretty much the gods created by dogmas. It's something to be feared, something to be obeyed without challenging its orders, its statements, no the dogmas. But no, an ordinary man. Because the ordinary man, it stimulates us, it stimulates reasoning, and it stimulates love. Now you act not out of fear, not of not having a an alternative. If was this powerful divinity who came in and say, "Oh, the three of you are wrong. Stop this nonsense right now," and that's it. You would stop, but would not resolve the problem. Would not resolve, eliminate the division. And if you don't eliminate the divisions, you do not eliminate the conflict. So you need to be an ordinary man, a man that you would listen to, that will lead you to reason, to agree and disagree, to conclude through your own abilities. And this ordinary man uses a very good approach, and he chooses to express the good. He doesn't say, this is wrong, this is bad. He uses what is good. It's almost like he reverses the normal process. Yes, you're all right. God is God of thunder. God is the God of this, is the God of that. All three things contribute for the harmony, for the good, for the progress. And using all the three things together, putting the rain, the thunder, and you forgot what was the other thing there. We create harmony and progress using a normal man, an ordinary man, to instigate reasoning to those individuals, and that reasoning is the reasoning of the intellect and the intelligence of the heart. They were able to eliminate the discord and end the discord for good. Because outside of that, it's all palliative. If we do not eliminate the divisions, we're always going to have the conflict. If we do not develop the reasoning to expand this understanding of a creator, of a provider, being one and only and equal for everyone, we're going to continue having divisions. That my God is the right one. My God created this set of laws that we live according to them, and everybody all has to live according to them, or needs to be destroyed, or stay outside of our group. When I was a phlebotomist many years ago, every Saturdays I would go to the neonatal wing of the hospital, and it draw blood from the mothers who gave birth the night before. And I was to go into the group of, there was a Mount Sinai, the Greek Jewish population. And it was the Sabbath, right? Saturdays. Very often, and it happened multiple times, that the husband would come and ask, pick up the phone, dial this number, he will not give me the number, or every time reading a piece of paper, let it ring a number of times, and so let's ring it 3 times, and hang up. Or let it ring 4 times and hang up. there was a mean of communication to whoever they want to communicate that the babe was born, and it was a girl or a boy by the number of rings. So if ring 3 times and hang up means that the babe was born and it's a boy. It rings 4 times, the babe was born and it was a girl. And I always thought of it, but they really have that faith, strong faith. They believe that God, and they believe that a God there is one and only. Jewish people were monotheistic, and they always, with no problem, could do that for them. And in time, for me, it was not a problem. I was always curious if the God is one and only. They believe, they understand that God is one and only. Why it's okay for me to ring, to pick up the phone, to use the phone, which is not agreeable with their religion, to do that on a Sabbath? For me, it's okay, but for them, it's not. Does it mean that they don't care what happens to me? Does it mean that I'm free from the necessity to respect the Sabbath? There are reasons for it, but yet it shows the division right here now, that with the dogma of that God, they cannot do things, but it's okay for me to do the same things because I'm not a part of that group who follows those dogmas. And that in itself can create the division, and the division could create the conflict. I could be an idiot, say, no, I'm not doing for you. If you cannot do it, I'm not going to do it for you. So, and then you generate a conflict. I'm not here discussing or disagreeing, agree with the Jewish tradition. Just give us an example, because the division is there. It's okay for a non-Jewish to do certain things on the Sabbath, but it's not good for them because their God don't agree with those things on Sabbath. But they believe that the God is one and only. So there is a conflict right there in itself. And the only solution for this problem is to put love at the first thing. Therefore, the Spinoza's God is in the concept, when God is the fluid, and the fluid is the plasma. And I will translate that plasma as love, energy of creation. If you take God as this, God is love again, then we eliminate all the division and eliminate divisions for good, not a palliative, not something that would last for a little while because the division is still there. But if you take religions with love and accept God as simplest, God is love, which through spiritism, it's more than that, but the energy of creation, the God uses love. And love is common to everyone, so God is common to everyone. And if we accept this responsibility to cultivate this to one another, then we eliminate the divisions. And by eliminating the divisions, we can win, the religion will win, because there will be one single common religion. There will be no more divisions. And faith will be victorious. And that is my personal dislike of religions. And I agree with Stalin that religions are indeed a opium in the society. And I think that's our spiel for today. I think we went over a little bit. Any comments before we close?
So just a reminder that we are closed tomorrow. Tomorrow is Labor Day, right? So SGNY will be closed. But we are back on Tuesday with the Spiritism and and on Thursday when I study of the Spirit's book.
Okay.
And next Sunday we'll be studying the book Action and Reaction, the first Sunday of September. We'll be covering chapter 9.
All right. Thank you, Joel. Carol, can you make a final prayer, please?
Yes, certainly. Thank you very much, Elmo, for hosting for us today. Thank you, John. And thank you, Sorida, for reading for us today as well, and everyone who is here and participating. Infinite Creator and Divine Providence, we give thanks for being together as brothers and sisters for our study of the book, Jesus in the Home. Assist others by helping and loving them as you can uniquely do so. Show warmth and fraternal assistance and let go of pessimism and self-importance. Know that individuals everywhere are growing spiritually during their earthly journey. May we cultivate the sincere desire to be of service without rewards. May we give thanks daily for all the blessings received. Be mindful of the pitfalls of pride, power, doubt, and excess comforts. The antidotes to suffering are thinking, learning, reasonable faith, focus, skillful actions, universal love, and kindness. Everything is available for our progress, especially through the good works of service that we do, accompanied by love and uplifting motivation. Yes, we can create harmony and progress without divisions. We give thanks to the spiritual benefactors and the good spirits for guiding and inspiring us today. May we receive the love, light, and peace of Christ within us, and for our loved ones, our teachers, our directors, our counselors, our mediums, our workers, and all participants. We pray for inner peace, and especially now for world peace and for those who are suffering in the physical and spiritual worlds. We pray for our center SGNY and all Spiritist centers throughout the world, that they may grow, prosper, expand, and be protected throughout the day and throughout the night. As we close, we humbly ask for safety and protection as we return to our family, friends, loved ones, and co-workers. And now may we remind ourselves to be beacons of love, of light, of peace, of service, and charity, which is love in action. May peace and love prevail. So be it.